Grayce, how are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. The third episode
Number
of the
3.
Running Mullet. Are you ready to do this?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's rock it. Dude, that intro was like a million times better than last week.
The one that we had to redo.
Yeah, like that one's pretty smooth. I think I learned my lesson. I have a light on me now, like I'm a superstar. Like, do my lips look kissy like?
They look a little hairy.
Oh, well, I feel like I'm clear now from tips from you, and we
You
didn't
got a
screw
nice
up.
glare on the top of your head.
Yeah, I went through my closet full of beanies, and I couldn't put one on that looked right. So I figured, you know what? I'm gonna go cue ball tonight. Let it all out.
Yeah.
What
No
one
shame.
you wearing? What are you wearing on that head there?
This is my Yeti beanie.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, it says not a cult. I like it.
What? How you feeling? Feeling a little better than last week?
I'm feeling good. I'm taking I've heard this before and I follow it pretty well, but I've heard before, I don't know if you've heard this, at least one day off for every 10 miles when you're doing ultras. So I'm taking 10 days off from running. In the meantime, I have hit the gym. I've done some hiking, some walking, just to keep things moving along. But not going to be running until at least 10 days afterwards. And I think it's a good, and I think you can take more than 10 days, certainly. But I like taking, you can take it more than one day per 10 miles, but I think I'm going to go for the full 10, not even try it. Because you never know, if I start that, I might feel good right now, and then I start that run, and then 3 miles in, my knee starts hurting or something like that, and then I'm just putting myself backwards. So I'm going to wait the full 10 days and then go out and see how I feel. Do something real easy.
Yeah, better be safe than sorry, especially with us getting into these older ages. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Just a reminder, anybody that is watching or is going to watch, please type comments in, and we will try to incorporate everything you're saying into our live show that has no really foundation, so we can make the foundation as we go.
Yeah. You sound so positive. Please type comments.
Like we run out of things to talk about already. We're just going to end up staring at each other.
No,
Yes,
we're not going to run out of things. We have so many things to talk about. We have a huge list. We made a spreadsheet and everything. We're getting organized. So
yeah.
One of the things that we wanted to talk about was signing up for races that scare you. And I think that's a great topic. You have a big race on your calendar. I know the first time this happened to me was when I signed up for Georgia Death Race, which I had no business signing up for. I was trying to convince a friend to sign up for it. And she was like, hey, if you sign up for it, then I'll sign up for it. And I was like, okay, then I'll put my name in the lottery. It probably won't get picked. And then she's like, oh, I forgot to put my name in. And then I got picked. And so I got picked for this race. And my longest distance up to that point was 50 miles. I'd done one 50 miler and several 50Ks. And then I'm signed up for this 72 miles, 18,000 feet of gain, completely terrified. But at the same time, I was kind of excited. And let me back up. So the year before that, or 2 years before that, something like that, I was signed up for Harrisburg Marathon. And I signed up for Harrisburg Marathon. I'm going to do this. And then I deferred myself because I decided I wasn't ready, that I wasn't going to have my best race. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just defer to next year. And then I did end up doing Harrisburg Marathon next year. I did the year after that. I did several 50Ks in between. But then looking back on it, it was like, man, I should have just done it. Like, I think there's some races that you want to go out there and do your best race. And then some races that you sign up for, like, just to see what happens. Because I had watched all the Barkley documentaries, which had just happened. And Laz says, if you've never DNF'd, then you don't know what your limit is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was signed up for Georgia Death Race. And of course that did end up being my first DNF, but it was like, okay, now I know what my limit is. And I was so fired up after that. And I really started to up my training and take things a little more seriously. And I did end up finishing it a year and a half later. But I think that's one of the cool things about signing up for things that scare you is like, it can be motivating. It can be like, I have no idea what's going to happen. Let's just see what happens.
Right. And I mean, going back to the DNF thing, I mean, I think we could all agree there's different levels of DNFing and different reasons, and everyone has its merits, I guess, to a certain point. Other than the one that you think about the next day and say, "Shizzle, why did I do that?" Right? But most of the time, there's a reason, at least in someone's head. I know many times that I've thought about DNFing, there's a perfectly legitimate reason in my head. But more times than not, I have a person, namely my wife, who proves to me why that reason isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things that I guess I might be weak at, is that I can easily talk my brain into a reason why, you know what, brain, you know what, buddy, this is good enough. I'm not going to regret this. And then luckily, anytime I do that, I either see her or another good friend and they say, you can back that trolley up because you're not doing that. Yeah. So the DNF part is pretty intriguing to me for many reasons, but signing up for races that scare you. It's funny that we're talking about this because anything big that I've ever done, at least what I consider big, and I guess what I would consider big is ultra. I think that's the best way for me as a runner starting out and then moving up into bigger, scarier stuff was the ultra distance. Anything from the 50K through the 100-miler. Everything I've always signed up for, I've been scared out of my mind leading up to when the whistle goes off. And I mean that. And it's just in my head.
That's interesting. Because I've done plenty of 50Ks where, because I'm, back and pack runner, I'm just like, I'm just going to go and have fun and take a lot of photos and eat lots of food. But I don't have that in every ultra. And I wonder if that's
because it's all the new ones. Now, if I were to do a race twice, I wouldn't have that feeling. But if I'm going into a blind, first time, I'm pretty scared of the reason I signed up for it is because it scares me, right? If that makes sense, at least for the most part anymore.
Oh, I sign up for plenty of stuff just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's why we're here talking about the mullet of running, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love this. This is interesting.
Exactly. But so me starting out, my first big boy race, let's go above 50K and talk about 100Ks for a second. My first World's End 100K. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was like, what am I getting into? I'm looking at the elevation chart. I know what I think my abilities are, but the bottom line is when I crossed the finish line, it was nowhere near as scary as my brain led me to believe it might be. And that goes for every single race up to this point in my life. There is never, and I might be setting myself up, I'm going to knock on wood here, but a race has never lived up to its hype in my head and like what you read online about the race details and all that, of being as scary as I think it's going to be. Does that make sense? They've always been easier. They've always been easier than I thought.
It does make sense, but it is not my experience at all. In the back of the pack, you're like, oh, they said it was technical. This is really technical.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm coming from like, Ouray, I would have dropped at 50K, 31 miles into the 100-miler. If my crew wasn't there, I wouldn't have a buckle, I wouldn't have a finish, and I would have dropped at 50K in, which doesn't sound like much, but I was perfectly happy with it. I got to see amazing things, and where I was at in my head, I was fine with it. Was I glad I kept going? Oh, heck yeah, obviously. But But even that race, like, how could you not say that that scares you, Eric? Well, it's not, it wasn't as scary. Maybe harmful wise. Like in my head going into it, I was like, this race is going to destroy me. And it wasn't that bad. It was just going up mountains, going up the hill and down the hill like every other race.
Yeah.
So like I want to get to that point where, and I think I keep trying maybe to do things that are worse than I'm expecting.
Have you had a DNF yet?
I've had a couple, and I've had my I guess, I think it was first official DNF was Naked Bavarian, 40 miler a couple years ago. I don't have any excuses for not finishing. I did one loop and then stopped, 120-mile loop and then stopped. I had talked about 10 miles into the race. My mom was sick at the time in the hospital. Yeah. And that's not why I stopped, but I just wasn't there. I had no in my head. I was like, why am I doing this today? There's no reason why I want to keep going. And I knew I had a chair in my car. I could sit at the finish line and watch people for 4 or 5 hours come in and have a blast. And I talked myself out of the race, and I stopped at the 20-mile mark.
Wow.
I don't regret that one at all.
Sure.
I don't care how many notches I have of DNFs at this point. You know, it's not something anybody should really keep track of, and how many finishes per DNF or all that.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I have a lot.
And then the other not finishes were last man standing events where everybody's the DNF except the winner. And I tried a couple of those, and they're not my jam. So I obviously didn't make it as the last person.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. But it's funny, and I'm sure we could hopefully get a lot of other opinions about DNFs on here.
We had this question on here. Can you expand on what you mean by different levels of DNF?
Well, I guess I'd like your opinion too, but you have your injury DNF. Okay. It's an injury that you can't move on from, or maybe you can. You have your didn't reach your A, B, or C goal, so I'm just gonna quit type of DNF. You know, I don't think I'm gonna make the cutoffs, or, you know, for example, something like that. Sure. You have your forced DNFs, which is you run out of time. You don't have a choice. You feel wonderful, but you're partying in the back of that mullet, and you straight up run out of time. You
know how much the volunteers look at me like I'm a crazy person when I DNF. I usually DNF for time. And like I'm at an aid station when I DNF, right? So if I'm like at Brunerdale, World's End, and I DNF there, they're playing music. And so I start dancing, and they're like, why are you dancing? And I'm like, well, I didn't finish. I timed out. This is a really good song. And so I start dancing. They're like, you could keep going. You look physically fine. Like, I am fine. I feel good, but I passed the time, so I can't keep going. See?
Yeah. And I guess to answer Daryl's question, there is only one DNF. You did not finish the race, right? But what I was referring to by different levels is, I guess, the reasons of DNFing. And there's a whole plethora of them, and they're interesting to talk about all in their own, as far as DNFs go. But that's kind of getting away from, signing up for scary stuff, which is the subject we started on, and why we do it.
Got it.
For me, I kind of said it, it's the doing something that scares me is what makes me feel most alive when I'm running, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I did a 100, it's just, I think a lot of runners have this feeling. You finally do something big. For me, it was like Eastern States 100-miler the first time. Sure. Instantly, when I crossed that finish line, I bet you within 24 hours, I was looking at Becky or you and be like, what's next?
Yeah.
Because I need something else. I did that. My body hit those limits. Now let's see what else is next. So it's, we can get into the addiction part of it. I don't know if that's what it is for me.
Well, and I think I talk to a lot of athletes about this. They'll reach out to me because I have like a roster of the entire calendar of races in our general area in my head. And they're like, Grayce, what race do you recommend? And I'm like, well, what gets you excited? Like, what's the thing that gets you excited? And I think that's different for different people. Sometimes it's the views. Sometimes they want a big crowd. Sometimes they want something that's close to home so their families can be there. I think it's different for every person, but I think that race selection or challenge selection, because it doesn't have to be a race, like it could be an FKT, it could be something else. But I think race selection is like, okay, let's go after something. And maybe it's not something that scares me, but I think for me, it's something that I'm excited about, that like, oh man, I can't wait until that happens. And I get so excited that I'm willing to train in the rain and get up at 5 a.m. for training runs, like whatever that thing is that gets you really excited, doing the Mason-Dixon trail, like for 2 years fueled my training. And then it happened. And now I'm like, I don't know what excites me anymore. I'm still, I think, kind of hunting around for that thing. I don't have anything on my calendar at the moment that truly, truly gets me excited. So I think it's a great part of a training plan is to have something that scares you or something that excites you, something that gets you pumped up so much so that the training is like, I don't know, the training's like it becomes a present for the training. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you did the work and everything, and then this is your present at the end, rather than like, this is your punishment. Well, it always hurts my soul when runners are like, oh, I got through the marathon just barely, and they're wasted at the end, and they're miserable. I'm like, oh, you should not be miserable. That big A race, like that should be exciting and fun, and when you're done, you should be proud of yourself. And I think that's part of selecting something that scares you, that excites you, whatever that is, because it becomes this little gift at the end,
Yeah. I mean, even those people, like marathon people you're talking about, they still have, that's just immediately following the race most of the time. You give them a day and they're all giddy and they love it and they're going to sign up for all the more
stuff. I think there's some, and to clarify, I don't think it's all marathon people, because I think there's some people who run marathons, but there's other people who run marathons and they are pumped at the end and they loved every minute of it and they're excited for their next one. And any distance, if it's a trail half marathon, there's people who are miserable at the end. And I'm like, why are you miserable? It should be a fun, exciting moment. And if you're not excited about it, then that might not be the race for you,
Yeah. And it's, for me, I said one of the reasons I sign up for race, or why I pick races I do, is because they scare me. Mm-hmm. But, you talking about crossing the finish line, that's my favorite part about a race. And that sounds kind of obvious, like everybody wants to finish, but no, like I love the feeling after the race, after it's all done. Yeah, I like training, and I like feeling I did my best, and I like putting in the work, and I like, mm-hmm. in a weird way, the pain of a long ultra. But after you cross the finish line, nobody can ever take that from you. It's yours, and you get to just bask in the glory of that. Even if you had a bad day, and it wasn't your C goal, it was your Z goal. I don't care what it was. Yeah. To cross the finish line in any race is a feeling of euphoria for me, that it's like, I did it.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's interesting, because at the back of the pack, that's not the moment for me, because I don't always know that that's going to happen.
Right.
There's plenty of races where it's like 50-50 whether I'm going to finish that, whether I'm going to cross that finish line. And so I can't use that as something to fuel me, because if I start getting behind or something like that, then it'll just put me into a negative space. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I try to stay really, really focused on the moment that I'm in, and enjoying the trees around me and the rocks, and just having fun in the moment, or talking to people, or if I'm alone, like just enjoying the atmosphere and the sounds and the smells. And that keeps me, if my plan is strong enough and it's tight enough, like the year that I did finish Georgia Death Race, like I stuck to my plan so tightly, and I did end up finishing, and that was a bonus, was that I finished. But I couldn't think about the finish at all.
Right.
Because it was like, I don't know if I'm going to finish.
Yeah. And for me, it's the opposite. When I get towards the end, I only have 20 miles left before I get, I can feel that feeling of victory. Oh, I only have 10 miles left. I don't know. It's different views from different spots in the pack.
Very interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
I gotta also, the part of it, I do it to myself though. Like I know I'm putting myself in this position because if I wanted to always think about the finish, I would just sign up for easier races, easier for me. You know what I mean? And There are plenty of races out there that have very generous cutoffs. I do this to myself and I sign up for things that have tight cutoffs and they're very difficult and
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to touch on this. Daryl said maybe the euphoria can come from the max effort rather than the accomplished goal. And I think that's spot on. I look back at some of my greatest efforts, and one of them was the second year that I attempted the World's End 100K. So I love that was your example of crossing the finish line of World's End 100K, because I have yet to do that. 3 DNFs, 3 of them. But one of my best efforts in any race was honestly a DNF. Like in the second year of World's End 100K, like I came in with a plan. I stuck to my plan. I had a hell of a race. I put everything out on that course. There's a couple things that I would have done differently. There always is. But for the most part, like that, I executed according to the plan. And I came in 8 minutes. I think it was 8 minutes after cutoff at the last aid station. And that's what did me in. But I can say, like, when I got to that aid station and they, told me I was done, I was like, yep, I'm done.
Right.
And that was a solid effort. Like I put it all out there. And it really, I feel good about that race to this day. I still have that kind of euphoria. Like I felt amazing putting it all out there. When I DNF'd Eastern States, I felt the same way. I'm like, no, I would have done a couple things differently, but that was my day.
Yep. And not to sound cliche or anything, but it was a win in your book, right? Yeah. DNF's just stupid words and letters anyway. And we all can't get mixed up in the fact that it doesn't matter that whether you're finished or not. What matters is we're out there, and most, majority of the population are not out there doing the suffering and the hard work and the training that it takes. Yeah,
it's exciting. I don't know. It's a lot of fun, and I think there's, some of the races that I enter in have some pretty low participation rates for women, especially. I know Laura and I were just talking about Eastern States has a low female participation rate, and it's a tough course,
Right.
And that's the way it is right now. But I hope to keep signing up for this stuff, and maybe other women will sign up for it too. And I kind of want to, make it okay to sign up for stuff, and then hopefully you do finish. I mean, I think the goal is to finish, especially with these bigger races that a lot of people are trying to get into. Certainly I wouldn't sign up for something just to sign up for it.
Right.
I have pulled myself from races as well that I decided I'm not ready for this, and I don't want to, I don't want to prevent somebody else from being able to sign up for it. So I think there is some amount of, not trying to just sign up for whatever, but I don't know. I think it's fun to sign up for the big stuff and put in the work. And then if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't,
Right. There's something to be said for just, not signing up for just because it's the right price or things like that. But, like we started this conversation, you got to at least try doing something that scares you, whether it's a race or anything, because until you attempt something that scares you, you don't know what it really feels like to, I guess, overcome that fear, whether it's completing it or whatever the challenge might be. But man, I think that's where I found my true self was these stupid, crazy ultras and doing the ish that scares me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is like, you know, years ago when I first, before Georgia Death Race, like I was like, there's no way, this is completely out of my realm. But then the fact that I signed up for it, DNF'd, didn't think I could do it, signed up again, and then I finished, like, to this day, it just blows me away. Like, I actually did that, and I did it during the year that it was an out and back course. It was super difficult, and I finished that, and man, it feels good. That's that feeling that I think us as coaches, like, I want everybody to feel that all the time. Like, I want everybody to be like, no, you don't understand what you're capable of. Like, you think a half marathon is out of your reach. And let me tell you, it is completely in your reach. Half marathon, there's so many things that are within people's reach, and they just they got something that's blocking them. So I think that's the cool thing about something that scares you, is signing up for something that scares you and then finishing it and being like, what the hell? It turns out I'm amazing.
Yeah. Yep. What else you got for me, huh? Yeah.
Chris says, have either of you ran Beaverhead in Idaho? It's one race that broke me, and I'm going back this year to run it, but signed up for the farther distance. I am scared but determined. I love that you signed up for that. Yes. I have not run Beaverhead in Idaho. I have seen the videos, photos from trails in Idaho, and holy moly, they look gorgeous. I don't know that I've seen videos from Beaverhead. I have heard of the race and hope it goes really well,
Yeah, I've heard about it, Chris. I have not run it myself. It's definitely on my list. I need to, when you figure out how I can quit my job and just do the fun races, then I will complete them all and be happy human being. But until then, I don't know. I can only do so much. But no, it's definitely on my list. I'll have to check it out, especially since it broke him or it broke you, Chris, and you're going back again. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. Exactly.
And before we go any farther, for the record, I was going to politely ask you to change my name to Pecker Heed. I don't know what a Pecker Heed is, but you misspelled it and spelled Pecker Head. He said Pecker Heed. So anyway, where are we going from here? Let's talk about the after race a little bit. What most of us here, I guess, what we're going to talk about is, the drinking of alcohol at a trail race, which seems to be prevalent a lot anymore. And we're not here to get into touchy subjects or really push buttons or anything like that.
But I think, here's the reason why I brought it up, right? Is because you, sir, decided to go alcohol free, right?
Yeah, almost 80. Tomorrow will be 79 or 80 days ago. Yep.
That is great. And
I did the whole January 1st, New Year, New Me thing.
And so, like, what led you to say, okay, I want to choose alcohol and, I want to keep going?
What led me to stop drinking alcohol?
Yeah.
For me, it was, I tell everybody this, the easiest way to describe it for myself was I just wanted to change my relationship with alcohol a little bit. Am I looking to go alcohol free forever? I don't know. I still don't know. I'm not sure. But for me, I wanted to step back a little bit just to see what it was like. And every time I tried to do that, the following day would come and I was back to square one, which, led me more to be like, you know what? I think it's time. So
what is it like? How's it going?
It's glorious. There's gypsies dancing everywhere, angels, there's unicorns galloping. No, it's going really good. I'm very proud of myself. I'm okay. I'm comfortable saying that. everybody has their reasons, I think, for deciding to do something like this, whether it's a dry January or
Sure.
some people, will say they hit rock bottom, and there's one thing or another that pretty much forced them to say, you know what, it's time to change my life a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is all great. But for me anyway, back to how it's going, I mean, I can't feel like I don't have much more energy. I was hoping like I could notice a difference, maybe not drinking any alcohol with my running and things like that. My sleep pattern changed a lot. I'm a much deeper sleeper now. And for some reason, I still feel like I can't catch up on it, but that's okay. I don't know. I am going to go get some blood work done. I'm not sure if like I'm going to get checked for Lyme again and do all that basic stuff just out of precautionary measures. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it feels really good. I lost a couple pounds. Not that I thought that's not why I stopped drinking.
Sure. But it's very cool. It's interesting. So I don't know. I put it on the list of topics because I think it's something that we don't talk about very much in trail running. And I think it's an interesting topic because I mean, alcohol is such a part of the trail community and it doesn't need to be, I think that I had heard a story. A friend of mine had said that, they were so used to, we'd go on trail runs and have like a shot of Fireball, and then they would have, apple juice in a Fireball bottle and then just drink that. And I'm like, well, that's kind of disappointing because I think there's nothing wrong with saying like, oh, I'm just going to have some applesauce or whatever, like to just decline. And I think that's something that I'd like to, I think that the trail community is in a good spot right now. And I hope we don't go down that path one day of like just pressuring people into it. I hope we can keep some balance and not try to make people feel like they have to fake it or something like that. You know what I mean? That they can still say like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I don't want a beer. And then like drop it and that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I hope we don't get to that spot. I think it's something for us all to just kind of be aware of. I have no plans of ditching alcohol. I am happy with my Fireball when I hit the top of a big climb. And also I hope that I don't put other people in an uncomfortable situation. And it's funny. I put this on the list to talk about and I completely forgot. I was straight edge in high school. So I didn't drink for a long time. I didn't take Tylenol, didn't eat chocolate, nothing. So I was completely straight edge, big fan of Minor Threat. And I think I wonder, because you were talking about your relationship with alcohol, and I wonder if that just like put me in a different place with that relationship. So I have some drinks at a race or something like that, but I'm totally fine not having the drinks too. And we all have different relationships with alcohol. And I think now my relationship with food is a whole different story because that is, I love food way too much. But that's interesting because I was straight edge before and now I'm not, and I'm good with it. Like I don't need to quit alcohol.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's great. And I think that the spectrum of who does what, how much, and all that is obviously all over the place.
Yeah.
For me, I kind of I just want it. I went over this last episode, I think a little bit. My head is very much built upon the devil on one shoulder and the who's on the other, angel on the other, sure. nice person on the other that constantly fights each other. And I actually thrive off of them getting in a fist fight in my head. If that makes any kind of sense. Like if my brain tells me that it's okay to have a drink, well, that other side's saying, no, it's not. And I'll fight. I mean, I try to take the good side if that makes sense. And I enjoy that fight. So And I think a lot of people do. So, just if you want to get into the streak of going alcohol free, I knew once I got to a certain point, even if my desire to have a single beer, and that's all it would be, or a single mixed drink, was strong enough, I wasn't going to beat the devil that said it's okay. It's just one drink. You're not getting drunk or tipsy or anything, because he's right. But I don't want to break that streak, devil. So I'm not having, you know what I mean? So it's like, this is all common sense stuff. Everybody has fights in their brain, but that's where I kind of feel like I thrive at. That kind of like, well, you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it, and vice versa ish,
So if we said like, you can't continue to grow that beard out, then you would be like, oh, watch me cut it off.
Yeah, I guess to a certain point. Pretty much.
I just want to test this theory. I want to test it out and just see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and that comes into the racing, the ultra racing part of it too. Always making deals with the devil in your head type of thing, and this and that. Your brain's is an amazing thing up in your head, but it's also can be, everybody that runs knows it can be your worst enemy.
Yeah.
And when you know how to control it a little more and put it in its place, it's back to being your friend. But if you don't, then it can be horrible.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a cool thing, a neat little journey that you're on right now. Wanted to hear your thoughts on it and why you decided to do it. And then I think also, like I said, wanted to talk about, I think it's something for us trail people, especially us like me, who enjoy having a shot of Fireball, to be careful about the way I say things and not to make anybody feel uncomfortable who's decided that that's just not going to be a part of their life. And there's nothing wrong with that, Like you said, there's all spectrums. And I think that's a great thing about trail, is that there's so many different types of people who are attracted to trail running for completely different reasons. And like all of them, like, let's do it all, Yeah. And I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, I guess as far as the beer goes at events and things, the trail, I think everybody that's watching can agree, the trail running community is one of the best communities of human beings out there. And I go to some of these races and some of these after parties to see these people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily go or sign up for a race because I know the beer is going to be flowing freely afterwards. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I love a beer after a race. It's delicious. It's cold. It's amazing. But I don't know. It begs the question: is there, are we getting to the point where there's too much of it at events? Maybe not. I don't know. And that's an opinion for everybody to figure out on their own. But you're right. It should never be an uncomfortable thing to where you're not sure. Like I should be, if I'm going to a race, I'm fine with you drinking a beer in front of me, and I wouldn't be there. I have to control myself if that's an issue. Yeah. So, but that's just me. Yeah. Also, I don't know. Man, Grayce, we're again failed on the time thing. So since listen. Since we're already 8-9 minutes over, one quick little final thing I'm curious of your opinion on. Strava and going dark. What do you think about going dark on Strava?
I have some theories about Strava. There is no data to back this up whatsoever. Whenever I hear this, is completely anecdotal, and I am very interested in comments about this. So please comment on it during the show, after the show. It seems like when I hear people talk about Strava, and tends to be more male, is they talk about, Strava is a little too competitive and I'm not really interested in being in a competition, and it's okay. And I post my runs on there, but I try not to obsess about it. And then when I hear women talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, I love Strava. I cheer people on. I like their posts. I comment on it. And so I wonder if, and just for me personally, like I use Strava for a different reason. And there are some people who get very competitive about Strava. I have like zero competition with anybody else in Strava. I use Strava for two different reasons. One, to cheer on my friends, and then two, to scope out other courses and other ideas for like different, like I know there was somebody, now I know there's plenty of men who do this because they look at my Strava and I've had guys reach out to me and be like, what is this leg destroyer thing that you did? Where is that? How do you find that trail? And so I think that it seems like there's plenty of guys who use it. And that's how I met Mr. Chad Brown, actually, because he stalked me on Strava. But it's to look up routes. And it seems like men are more competitive with it. And a lot of women use it, and men use it to cheer people on too. But it seems like they just think about it in a more competitive way. I think about it as it's basically social media for runners. That's what I see it as. I know there's some people who do go dark, and it seems like the reason is because like they were feeling negative about their own runs compared to other people. And then I know that there's some other people who go dark on Strava because they're training for something highly competitive and they don't want other people to know what they're training for because they're somebody who's going to be at the front of the pack and the competition might see it. So I've seen kind of those two reasons. We will talk about Chad Brown. We will talk about how we met at some point because that's how I met Eric, is through Chad. So, which is a fun story, but I want to hear why you brought this up. People going dark on Strava. I've never gone dark on Strava. I have hidden some activities because I was either scouting a race that I didn't want people to know about because I was race directing and I wanted it to be a surprise, or because I was working on an FKT that I didn't want people to know about because I wasn't ready to announce it yet.
Yeah.
So talk to me about going dark on Strava. Why did you bring that one up?
Because I'm currently dark on Strava. And
Why?
I don't know. Because I want to. And I guess that's why I asked the question. For me, and you hit the nail on the head. I think you said something about it's their personal reasons. It's not because I'm training for something secret that nobody can see my times. It's not so people can't see that I'm improving and they should get worried about a race.
They should.
They shouldn't at all. And it's 100% for me. It's just no pressure. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel, and again, and we get,
that makes sense.
You had very good points about everything you said, but the mullet comes into the whole aspect of Strava. Yeah. Anybody towards the front of the pack knows who's in the front of the pack with them on Strava. They're friends. If they ran a race together, one liked the other and they're friends now. And I'm friends with all these people, right? I'm not just saying friends as like, oh yeah, we're Strava buddies. No, we become we meet friends through Strava, like you were saying, and it's an amazing thing. But for me, it's just to let go of the pressure of, man, I started this whole thing just for fun. And I'm feeling like I'm starting to push that edge of, am I doing this just for fun anymore? So by going dark, I don't have to title my run. I don't have to care if I take a dump that takes 25 minutes in the woods and I don't stop my watch.
Yeah. Oh, I never stop my watch.
I'm just saying, and not that anybody ever commented on this stuff, but I'm just saying there's zero I have to worry about. I look at my numbers in the morning. It's like, cool. And that's it. Not that I ever worried about anybody. I try to never worry about other people's thoughts or comments, but they're my friends. Of course I do, and not that anybody says anything bad. It's all great.
Yeah.
But I tend to overanalyze things. Are they just saying that to be nice? Or was that really fast? Because I think I didn't feel great that day. You know what I mean? So by
It's a lot of
dark,
attention. I think it's a lot of like focused attention. Like, oh, Andrew Simpson rode his bike one day. Is he injured? You know what I mean? Like, I think you're spot on. That does happen where it's like, oh my goodness, this person went on a walk. Are they okay?
Right.
You know, Eric did a hike instead of a 6-minute run. Like, what's wrong? And then you got all these people probably messaging you and like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, I just decided to go for a walk, man. It's fine.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit, like, if I do something big or when I do something big, man, I love seeing comments come on my Strava feed. It's an addiction. It makes me feel good, and I'll be the first to admit I need it. I like it. You know, people notice this. People are noticed that I did this big thing. Thank you. Like, this is why I have my trail friends. But when I do something big and it's not even there, I found that I still feel the same way about myself. I'm very proud of that, of what I did, whether it's just a workout, a huge Saturday morning, or a big race that the people that were there know what I did, and that's it. I don't know. I mean, I go back. I'm like a light switch. I go on and off for Strava all the time, and that's a beauty of something like Strava is you can, and nobody else should care, and nobody does care. Nobody asks me why.
Well, I think it's something that I would like to see more use out of. Amy Whitmore, I know she was going to be tuning in. I don't know if she's still on. But she's like the master of just posting the nicest comments on your training runs, your races, whatever they are. And she inspires me like, man, I gotta comment more on other people's Strava and just say like, hey, great work. You know, that's an awesome course, or that was a really good. It looks like you had a lot of fun, like especially when people attach photos. I will just throw this note out there because I've somebody else comment. We were talking about this and they were like, wow, that's a really good idea. One of the things that I do with my Strava is I title it with the trail that I'm on, because Strava has a search feature. So if you want to remember like, oh, what's a 7-mile course, you know, route that I can do for my training, you can, if you name your route Lake Redmond 7-miler, then you go back and you search for 7-milers, then you have a list. And then that way you can use it for your training. So just throwing it out there that I think a lot of people name theirs with like fun names, but you usually see mine named with the route that it is and the mileage. And the reason for that is so that I can go back and search them. So that's your tip of the day.
Yeah. And to end on the whole Strava thing, you know, I still get on there probably more times a day than I care to admit, and do the scrolling and give, you know, I like to still, I'm on there 100% seeing what other people are doing.
Right.
It's just, for me, I feel like it almost fits me better, and I don't ask why, to not be on there, not show my stuff. I don't know. I'm an odd duck, I guess.
We're going to figure it all out.
Yeah.
Eventually. We're going to take as many episodes as it takes to figure out what's going on in that noggin of yours. But I think this is a good challenge for everybody. If all of us comment, let's say on 10 people's runs or races between now and the next episode, like if even 10 of us do 10, that's like 100. That's a lot. And we have prizes to give away too. So I think this is a fun challenge. Let's do some comments. Let's spread like some positivity, some love. Like let's do that. Can we do that?
I think we can do that. And I'll in return, we'll pick a winner, I guess, or a couple winners and give them some Idiot Runner gear.
Yes.
Now let's close the show off. Now that I said Idiot Runner gear, I want to close the show off. Well, we have our own closing, but before we do our closing, just so everybody knows, this show has nothing to do with the Idiot Runner tribe or brand or logo that I am connected to. But having said that, I'm going to talk about it all the time. But like we didn't, I want to make it clear to everybody who might watch this that we didn't start this show to promote anything. We're just here to talk crap about running, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just chat with each other, and we have really good conversations. And we're like, maybe somebody will want to listen.
Right. If anything, I would say it's connected to the Facebook group Run for Life or Die Trying.
Hashtag. We need a hashtag, Daryl. Thank you.
Running
mullet.
Yep.
Yeah, we need a special hashtag, and then you can search it.
Hashtag Running Mullet without the second I, Daryl. Come on, Daryl.
Is it the Running Mullet or is it just Running Mullet? Which hashtag are we using?
I don't know. You decide. Come on. I'm not the techie.
I'm not a techie either.
The Running Mullet. Hashtag the Running Mullet.
Got it. Done. I'm commenting. Hashtag the Running Mullet. So hashtag the Running Mullet with your runs on Instagram, on Facebook, on Strava. That way we can search for them and we can give away
awesome stuff. Yeah. Really, really good stuff. Yep. All right. We better close out this Monday. I'll see you next Monday.
What are you doing this weekend?
What am I doing this weekend?
Yeah.
I am training for Boston more. Lauren, what am I doing this weekend? Oh, West Rim Trail. I'm running the West Rim Trail with Adam Kolb. And I'm not sure who else. We have a couple people that are doing it. We kind of want to look at it, run the course for Canyon Man, so everybody knows what they're doing. Gabe Batdorf.
The rim job.
Yep. So we're gonna do the 50K West Rim. Hopefully, if the snow is gone, which is gonna be a hope.
Yeah.
So that's
we've had zero snow down here in York. No accumulation the entire season.
Literally. I hate you for that.
And I've spent a lot more time in the gym. Isn't that terrible?
Yes, it is.
I've been doing strength training.
What about you, Grayce? What are you doing this weekend?
I am going to pre-sweep the Big Woods half marathon. So that'll be a lot of fun. I've got a goal this year. I want to do more volunteering and sweeping. So I'm excited to pre-sweep the Big Woods half marathon course. I've never done that course before. It's out at French Creek State Park, but I have run in that area. It's a nice, kind of smooth, fun trails to run on. So I'm going to do that Saturday and probably lay around on Sunday.
Nice. French Creek State Park is my old stop. It's where I grew up.
Ah.
Yeah, I caught a lot of trout out of Scott's Run.
So you're from the south side.
Yeah, I'm a flatlander.
And then you moved up north.
Got it. I think I've been up here long enough I'm not a flatlander anymore. I don't know how that works.
Okay. All right.
All right, Grayce. Good show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. See you next week, 7:30.
Bye. Bye.